Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Cinema Heroes. I'm Justin Speck.
I'm Jake Stu.
And today we're talking about, actually it's The Transformers, the movie, which my DVD case just says Transformers, but the title of the movie is actually The Transformers, the movie. Released in 1986, directed by Nelson Shin, written by Ron Friedman, and starring the voice talents of Orson Welles, Eric Idle, Judd Nelson, Robert Stack, Leonard Nimoy, and of course, Peter Cullen and Frank Welker. That was the first thing, my first note, Stu, before we even talk about when you saw this for the first time and stuff. I think it's kind of crappy that Peter Cullen and Frank Welker are not in the opening credits. They're not listed in the opening credits.
I understand why you feel that way, but there's a reason.
Sure. Nobody knew who they actually were. I mean, the voice of Optimus Prime, but yeah, at the time people probably didn't know it was Peter Cullen, maybe. But
they're not in the movie that long.
Well, that's true too. That's true too, I guess. All right. So when did you see this for the first time?
That's a good question. I want to say the first time I had seen it like in full from front to back was like 3 years ago.
Okay.
4 years ago. I had the Blu-ray. But I have memories of the OG TV series.
Right.
And I don't remember if it was the actual series or the movie that I saw when I was a little kid. It was probably the series.
Yeah.
But yeah, my first time watching this front to back was about 4 years ago. But okay. I'm a big Transformers fan, so right, yeah. The fact that I had just seen that 4 years ago was like blasphemy.
No, I hear you. I remember the TV show. I mean, I don't remember it that well. Like, I don't remember episodes necessarily, but I know I watched it as a kid.
Right.
And we had Transformers toys. In fact, some of the toys we had were so this movie came out, and it apparently is a bridge between seasons 2 and 3 of the OG Transformers show. Mm-hmm. So characters that are introduced in this movie have a big role in season 3 and 4 of Transformers. So I don't know if the toys we had were from the movie or maybe from season 3 or 4 of Transformers. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But I had Ultra Magnus. I should say my brother probably had Ultra Magnus. I don't know if these were necessarily mine, but because I was 3 years old when this movie came out. The TV show premiered in 1984. I was 1, or maybe not even. So they were probably more my brother's toys than mine. But we had Ultra Magnus, and it was like, it was really well made. It was parts of it were made out of metal and everything. And then there's a couple other characters in the movie, like one of the Triceratops Dinobots. I was like, oh, I had that one too. Or I just we did as a kid. But this movie, I kind of like you. I don't think I saw it until I was an adult. I actually don't think I saw it until I bought the DVD. And the copyright on the DVD is 2006. And so it was either then or a little bit later that I bought it and watched it. And I'm pretty sure it was, well, you know what? It was probably around 2007 when the live action was about to come out. And I was like,
sounds about right.
I've never seen the original. And one of my friends, I think, thought that was blasphemous. And so I bought it and watched it. Yeah. What was your initial reaction?
Oh, I thought it was awesome. I mean, it's definitely very, very 80s.
Yeah.
And it can be very cheesy at times, but I was having a blast watching it. Every time I watch this movie, I enjoy myself a lot.
I had a lot more fun watching it this time around than I think I did back in 2006. I think it was just a little too 80s maybe for me, or I don't know. Or maybe it didn't hold my interest or something, but I remember thinking it was not, it was an 80s cartoon. That's just kind of how I felt about it. And so I hadn't watched it since. But watching it now, it makes me I have the first season of Transformers on DVD. It makes me want to get the rest of the seasons and kind of binge watch it, because I had a lot of fun watching it today. However, I do think it is crazy that they kill off so many characters. I remembered, obviously, that they killed off Optimus Prime, but they also, they kill off a ton of characters, not just Optimus Prime.
I think Ironhide, he dies.
Ironhide. I think even Casey
Uh,
Kasem's character, whose name I'm forgetting, Cliff Jumper or something like that.
Cliff Jumper, he dies. Yeah.
Yeah, he dies. Megatron dies. He becomes Galvatron, but I
Well,
mean, he
yeah,
technically he's no longer Megatron.
yeah.
So yeah, it's like all the characters. I mean, not all the characters. Bumblebee's still alive, and I think Jazz was still alive. I can't remember if Jazz dies or not. But a lot of the characters from the TV show get killed off in this movie. And I think, this movie I read was a box office failure. And part of that, I think, was it came out towards the end of the year and it was just too many other movies that people wanted to see. And so it kind of got lost in the shuffle. But I also read that, kids, fans of the show, didn't like that Optimus Prime got killed. And I mean, I can't blame them at all.
Yeah, I don't blame them. I mean, the people watch the show for Optimus Prime.
Right.
Optimus Prime is one of the greatest animated characters ever.
Yeah.
And to kill him, 20 minutes into the movie,
right,
is I could see why that would upset people. I
kept thinking,
nevertheless, I loved it.
Yeah. The first time I saw the movie, I don't think I knew that. And so I think I kept expecting him to come back. I'm like, it's Optimus Prime. There's something, the matrix of leadership or something is going to bring him back, but it never did. Nope. He's dead.
They committed to it.
Yeah. Which is, on one hand, I think is kind of cool, but at the same time, I don't think it was actually really like an artistic decision. I think it was, they wanted to introduce new characters so they could sell more toys.
Absolutely.
Of the new characters.
Absolutely.
So there's a part of it that's like, oh, that kind of sucks. But at the same time, it's like, what a ballsy move for your Transformers the movie, and Optimus Prime is your main character, and you kill him off 20 minutes into the movie.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly why they do what they do with animated movies and shows. When if you want the show to continue, or if you want more movies, buy the toys.
Right.
That's the whole reason for. That's the whole reason for it. It's just a marketing tool.
Yeah.
So some of these shows and movies happen to be really, really good. Batman the animated series, Young Justice, stuff like that. But unfortunately, sometimes things get canceled, because kids are not buying the toys. Like Young Justice. Young Justice was a fantastic show, and they had canceled it because nobody bought the toys.
Oh,
and
wow.
then fans lost their minds. Right. Like, bring it back. So they brought it back like 5 years later.
Funny. And this show, like, I can kind of it makes sense, about the whole toy purchase things, because it's a TV show that was created based on toys. Like, the toys came out first.
Right.
And then the TV show came out. So I can kind of understand the thought process of, we need to sell more toys, so let's introduce different characters.
Yeah.
And but G.I. Joe, was G.I. Joe toy first? I think it was, and then it became a TV show.
I think so.
But for being a TV show based on a line of toys, it's a really good show. And the movie's,
absolutely.
Really good too, for being based on just toys that go from cars to robots.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been fascinated with Transformers. Just the idea of something like cars are already cool,
right?
Because they're cars, like, right. So the idea of a car changing into a robot, is genius. It's simple, but it's genius. Like, I love it. And then later on they introduced the Dinobots, and then Soundwave, who was one of my favorite Transformers. Right. He has his lieutenants, and they turn Ravage turns into a Panther. Laserbeak turns into a cassette tape. Like, right. It's genius. It's genius.
It is very cool. I like that they they don't all just turn into cars. They all do, like Starscream turns into a jet, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
He's another one that dies in this movie.
Yes. Yeah, they kill off a lot of Decepticons too, because when Megatron turns into Galvatron, he has all new lieutenants.
Right. Yeah, there's like a scene where, like, I I can't remember if they say they're like too heavy or something, which is kind of funny because they're in space. But they have to get rid of some of their like load. So I remember they throw out some Decepticons and Megatron's like the last one. I remember thinking, man, Starscream. I know Starscream always hates Megatron and always talks about how he'd be a better leader or whatever, but like he just throws him right out into space. I always thought like, dang, this is brutal. Although Megatron's pretty brutal too. There's a scene in the beginning where like an Autobot is like pleading with him and I can't remember what Megatron says exactly, but like the shot is from down below and he's just like shoots the dying Autobot. And I was like, dang.
Yeah. The animation in this movie is pretty good.
Yeah, it is. I wish I had,
especially like the big wide shots. Like whenever Unicron shows up, that it's always a beautiful scene.
Yeah, I wish I had this on and something other than DVD. I wish I had it on Blu-ray or 4K. I will probably end up purchasing it on one of those formats, but but even the DVD looks pretty decent. It's still DVD quality. So I am very curious to see how it looks in 4K especially.
The Blu-ray is fine.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily have to get the 4K. There's not much difference between the 4K and the Blu-ray, but no, so just the Blu-ray is fine. I got the 4K because of the Steelbook.
Right, which is nice. I think I looked it up recently. I think the price is pretty similar, so if I'm going to get the Blu-ray, I might as well get the 4K.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was a big price difference, I'd maybe just stick with the Blu-ray. But I think it was like $2 difference or something, so I was like, well, might as well do the 4K. Unicron, played by Orson Welles. This is Orson Welles' last credit, I believe. Acting credit.
Yes, it is.
He died, I guess, like days after recording his dialogue or something.
5 days. 5 days after he recorded this, he passed away.
And according to IMDb trivia, his health was failing. Obviously, died very shortly after, and so his dialogue wasn't very good. You could kind of tell apparently that he was not feeling well. So they had to put a lot of effects on his voice, but it actually I think really works for the movie.
It makes him sound very scary.
Right? Yeah, for sure. One of the other things I thought was kind of crazy with this movie is Eric Idle, and I don't think it's in alphabetical order, but Eric Idle is the first person credited in the opening credits, and he does not show up until the Planet of Junk, and his part is not very big. So I was like, how much did they pay him to do this movie? And
that's almost two-thirds into the movie.
Yeah. I kept waiting. I was like, have I missed Eric Idle? And then once I heard his voice, I was like, okay, there he is. I was like, it's crazy.
Yeah, you definitely wouldn't miss Eric Idle.
No.
Like, his voice is instantly recognizable.
Yeah, for sure.
But Optimus and Megatron, they're having like they're having their battle right now on Autobot City.
Yeah.
And this is where Optimus meets his demise.
Yep. Good scene though. Good battle.
Yes.
I did write a note. I said, is it Hot Rod's fault? Hot Rod does try to save him. He goes, he's like, not today, Megatron, or something. And because he sees that Megatron's going to grab like a laser pistol or whatever. Mm-hmm. But then once Hot Rod tackles him, Optimus no longer has a shot.
Right.
And so, he says something to Hot Rod, like, get out of the way. And then Megatron ends up shooting Optimus. So I said,
it's kind of his fault.
Yeah. If Hot Rod had not jumped in, maybe Optimus could have, drawn faster, basically, and shot Megatron before Megatron could get a shot off. So yeah, it's kind of Hot Rod's fault.
I mean, but that kind of plays into the end of the movie when Hot Rod becomes a Prime, and now he's Rodimus Prime because he has the Matrix of Leadership. So it's I guess it's kind of poetic.
Sure, yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't think Optimus obviously doesn't blame Hot Rod. It wasn't like Optimus was on his deathbed being like, Hot Rod, you jerk. I do find it interesting that like he gives the Matrix of Leadership to Ultra Magnus. So you kind of think Ultra Magnus is going to be like the new leader of the Autobots. Mm-hmm. And so that was a nice kind of little twist at the end, because he tries to use it, nothing happens, and it isn't until Hot Rod grabs it is able to unleash the power of the Matrix and become Rodimus Prime. and defeat.
He had the touch.
Unicron. He had. You got the touch. Okay, so the music. The music is incredible in this movie.
Absolutely. It might be the best thing about the movie.
It might be. I remembered, this. I remembered the touch, and I remembered like "Dare to Be Stupid" being in it by Weird Al. But I forgot like how good it just all of the music is. Yeah. That other Stan Bush song, "Dare," is really, really great.
Mm-hmm.
The Lion cover of the Transformers theme is awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like I've been listening to the soundtrack since I finished watching the movie, and it's so good. It's like really 80s like hair metal, like rock. It's really, really good. You might be right. It might be the best part of the movie, the soundtrack.
Yeah, every time the Transformers theme comes on, I get excited. You hear that opening guitar riff with the reverb. Transformers.
I was gonna say, even when the drums started in the very beginning, it's like Unicron destroys that planet, and then like the camera kind of pans, and you hear the. You're like, oh, here we go.
But yeah, going back to what you said about introducing new characters, there are a lot of new characters in this movie. We got I think Kup is new.
As far as I know, I know like the main like four, Optimus, Bumblebee, Starscream, Megatron, Jazz, I guess. That's about it. Ironhide. So I'm, if you were to ask me, was Kup on the TV show, I would have no memory, but
I don't think so.
I don't think he was either. I think Hot Rod and Kup were both new, right? Hot Rod wasn't on the show.
Yeah.
We even get our first female Transformer.
RC.
Yeah. Apparently, I guess there was, network or I don't know if it was Hasbro or the network or whatever was like, no female characters. This show is for boys. But I don't know if it was the director or somebody else, but their daughter was really into Transformers, so they pushed pretty hard for a female Autobot so that she could. And of course, then they never made a toy ever. Apparently, I could be wrong about that.
Never knew that. But I never knew that. That's crazy. She was one of two. Well, at least one of two that I remember that were female. There was RC and Elita 1, but she's mostly in the newer Transformers series.
Oh, okay. RC would be the only one I know of, but I never really watched the newer Transformers, so I'm not, other than the live action movies, and I don't remember if RC's in the live action movies or the other one you just mentioned.
Sort of. So
really,
the way they do RC is I don't like it.
Oh yeah,
because they split the character up into 3 motorcycles.
Oh,
and most of the time we see RC, she is a motorcycle.
Okay,
but instead of RC being one Transformer, RC is 3 different Transformers.
Oh,
they're all referred to as RC. Like they're like a unit.
Interesting.
And they or she, I don't know, they have like one speaking line. And,
lame. Yeah.
I think it's Revenge of the Fallen.
Okay.
Yeah, it was lame. I don't like it. So yeah, Unicron, he attacks that planet at the beginning.
Yeah.
He's a planet eater, and he just consumes the entire planet. And he's on his way to Cybertron, which has been taken over by the Decepticons.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Autobots have been forced. They're basically just on the 2 moons.
Mm-hmm.
And at the beginning of the film, Optimus talks about how they don't have enough Energon cubes to lead an assault, so they've got to kind of stock up first, and sends Ironhide and a crew to Autobot City, either to get Energon cubes or just to send a message or something. But the Decepticons intercept that message and also just basically kill everybody on that ship.
Yeah.
And so then they're on they're on Autobot City for a while, because Prime eventually learns that the Decepticons have intercepted, and so he's on their way, and That's when he lands. That's when he ends up getting killed by Megatron. That's also where we Autobot City is where Hot Rod is living, I guess, and that's where we're introduced to. I don't know if it's the first human character in the movie or if the father was, but Daniel, I believe, Witwicky, which they never say his last name in the movie, I guess, but it is Witwicky, which I thought was interesting because that's Shia LaBeouf's character's name in the not Daniel. I think his name is Sam.
Yeah,
but it's Witwicky, which is cool.
Yeah, he is the first human character in the movie. Because Sam doesn't show up until a little bit later.
Spike.
Or yeah, Spike.
Yeah, Spike Witwicky, I guess, is his father.
I keep forgetting they changed the name to Sam for the movie.
Right. Spike Witwicky also has a potty mouth.
Yes.
It's like the one swear word in the movie. And actually on the DVD, the chapter title for that scene is swear word. So I thought that was kind of interesting to hear that.
That's funny.
Yeah. I don't remember. I remember Grimlock. You know, obviously I remember the Dinobots, but I did not remember that Grimlock was so stupid. You know, he's like,
yeah.
Me, Grimlock. Well, you know, whatever. I forget half his lines, but he's kind of a dumb character.
Yeah, the Dinobots are they're not very intelligent. Because he was talking about Kup and his war stories. He's like, me Grimlock love when Kup tells old war stories.
Right. Yeah.
They're kind of like that in the live action
really
movies. They don't talk much, but they kind of just do whatever Optimus tells them to do.
Right. Sure. Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense. They turn into animals, so I guess maybe they're treated more as like the Transformers pets, almost. You know.
Yeah. They're like domesticated Transformers.
Right, yeah. Domesticated Transformer animals. Interesting. How do you feel once once they get off Autobot City, Kup and Hot Rod end up on, I forget the name of the planet, but they end up on this planet where there's like this trial going on by this like three-headed magistrate, and even though he says they're innocent, they get sent down into a pool of Sharkticons.
Yeah.
And then the other group of people, Ultra Magnus and whoever else is on his ship, end up going to the planet of Junk.
Mm-hmm.
It's, in my opinion, this is where the movie kind of slows down a little bit.
I agree.
It's kind of where I started to lose interest. I had to kind of go back and rewatch some of these scenes because I was like, wait, how did Hot Rod get here? You know, because I just kind of blanked out and wasn't paying attention. So yeah, I think, I don't know what it is about those scenes. I don't know if it's just because the parties get split up and it's kind of just, we're just waiting for, I know it's around the time when Megatron becomes Galvatron, which I find that part interesting. But I found the Hot Rod and Kup on that planet and the planet of Junk stuff it slows the movie down a little bit. And it kind of picks back up once Galvatron shows back up and then they're all fighting each other again. Of course, that's basically the last act of the movie. But yeah, I was curious how you felt about those planets or those scenes.
No, I agree. For me, it was the Junk planet that felt the slowest.
Yeah.
Because I was okay with them being on the other planet with the trials and the Sharkticons, but I really don't care about the Junk planet until the Wreck-Gars show up.
Right.
Because that scene is just silly.
Right. I like how they learn how to talk from TV. So like one of the best lines that Eric Idle has, because I rewound it. I was like, wait, what did he just say? And it was like something like, the offer will expire while you're waiting. And it was like, offer expires. Like he says it so fast. He was like, offer expires while you're waiting. Blah, 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 blah. And I was like, wait.
What? He talks like a commercial.
Yeah. Speaking of fast talkers, there's also the character of Blur, who I don't know if was in the original series or not, maybe. But he's voiced, I will always know this guy's voice because he did commercials for Micro Machines back in the 80s and 90s. And he just would always talk really fast and talk about all the different Micro Machines. Whoa, Micro Machine. It was just, he was like, he's apparently the Guinness World Record holder for fastest talker.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so. And I guess he slows down his talking a little bit for TV because otherwise you can't understand him. Apparently he could talk 11 words per second. And which is too fast for anybody really to understand. So like for this movie and for the Micro Machines commercials and stuff, he actually had to slow down a little bit.
That's a lot of work. Why would you need to talk?
I don't know. Well,
11 words per second.
I don't know. There's a quote from him saying that like he basically learned how to do it because it annoyed his older sister. And so he just like kept doing it and kept practicing at it until he got like really good at it.
Yeah.
And then realized, hey, I am actually the fastest talker. I don't know how he discovered that, but and then he got hired by, TV shows and commercials and stuff to sell stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember him primarily from Micro Machines.
So Unicron just ate one of the moons, or he's actually eating the other moon now.
Yeah, so that's more Autobots that get killed because he eats that first moon, and Bumblebee and Spike are on the second moon.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're the only two who get off of the moon.
Yeah, they just escape.
Yeah, they might have been the only two on the moon, but that first moon definitely killed. There were some Autobots on it. They're dead now.
Yeah, Unicron is a really good villain because he's more of a looming presence rather than like a flat out antagonist.
Right.
He's like a force of nature.
Right.
And I like that. I thought that was a very smart thing to do with Transformers because it kind of puts it puts the Decepticons and the Autobots in a special position because now they have like a common threat.
Yeah.
And it can get old, with the Autobots and Decepticons fighting each other all the time. Yeah. So I like that. To introduce Unicron as just this force of nature I thought was a really good idea.
Yeah, I agree. And I like that Megatron, he's like, I answer to no one. And Unicron like basically starts torturing him. He's like, okay. And it turns him into Galvatron. And then even as Galvatron, he tries to betray Unicron, which I think is pretty cool. Very maybe true to Megatron's character.
Mm-hmm.
But I think one of the things I love about Unicron is he's this big orb, planet-eating whatever, but he is also a transformer too. So he like transforms into a giant robot at the end of the film.
Yeah, when he transforms, I was like, okay, here we go. Because he's gonna transform, and you're just waiting on it. When they finally get to the third act, he is just like this. He's bigger than the planet,
right? Yeah, he like grabs the planet basically and starts like tearing it apart.
Yeah, and it's like how do you defeat a planet?
Yeah, Unicron is a great villain, I think. I agree with you. I like that this is, something I should have said at the beginning, but I do like that this movie takes place in 2005.
Yeah. The future.
The future, that's right. So it's now 17 years in the past, but in 1986, 2005 seemed a long way away.
It did.
Well, what do you think about when Megatron turns into Galvatron? What do you think about Galvatron?
Oh, I thought that was awesome. Yeah. I thought the animation for that scene was awesome because you kind of saw like his like inside.
Yeah.
His the inner workings of the Transformers. I thought that was cool. He gets his new lieutenants, Cyclonus and
I can't remember.
I forgot. Cyclonus, Scourge.
Oh yeah.
And someone else. I forgot.
It's someone else. I love Galvatron. He's voiced by my boy Leonard Nimoy.
Yeah.
Almost couldn't say that name. Leonard Nimoy. Yeah, so I think, and Leonard Nimoy does a great job. He like sounds so angry at times and is, very, no pun intended, animated, I guess.
He also voices Sentinel Prime in Dark of the Moon.
That's right. I remember that.
Yeah.
Yep.
I actually prefer him as Sentinel over Galvatron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember, so I'm really looking forward to when you and I talk about Dark of the Moon, because I remember really liking that movie, but I have not seen it since I saw it in the theater. And I'm really curious if I will still like it or if my opinion will change. So we'll see.
You're going to still like it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, not to say that our opinions always match, but for the most part they do.
Yeah.
I still love that movie. I think that to this day, I think that's the best Transformers movie.
Okay. Wow. Nice. All right. Cool. I'm looking forward. Well, especially after watching this, I'm like, I want to watch more Transformers. So there's a part of me that wants to sit down and watch the movies, but I know we're going to talk about them eventually. So
yeah,
I do like when Hot Rod and Cup are first. I guess it's when they're first on the planet with the magistrate and the sharks and stuff. They use the universal greeting. Oh, which I'm not going to remember what it is, but it's some gibberish.
Yeah, he says like hot knob, neat, Winnie bomb or something.
Right. And he's like, universal greeting works every time. And then they start feeding him Energon, which is kind of weird. And then they, of course, those creatures are very upset when they run out, start attacking them. So the universal greeting didn't do as much as good as Cup. But then they use it again when they meet at the Wreck-Gar and stuff, I think.
Yeah,
right? Yeah. Which is pretty great.
And that's when they start dancing to the Dare to Be Stupid.
Yeah.
But yeah, this movie has some of my favorite Transformers in there. Ultra Magnus. I was upset that we never got to see him in live action. I hope we get to see him soon, because he's one of my favorites. In the newer Transformers cartoons, he's kind of a rival to Optimus Prime.
Oh, cool.
I mean, they're both Autobots, of course, but they don't always see eye to eye.
Right. They look very similar,
Yes.
They have very similar kind of, and they're both trucks.
Mm-hmm.
But they also, the red and the blue, they both have very similar kind of designs, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Most of the time, Ultra Madness, his dominant color is blue.
Right.
Whereas Optimus is kind of equally red and blue.
Oh, yeah. I wish I could find that toy. I don't think we have it anymore, especially since my parents moved out of their old house. Mm-hmm. We went through all the stuff in the attic, and I don't think we had it. But that Ultra Magnus toy was pretty amazing.
I had so many Transformers. Because I grew up during the second generation,
right,
and like the Beast Wars generation,
right.
Beast Wars is one of my favorite cartoons of all time. Like, I know it's not a movie, but I would love to talk about it.
Well, I'm curious if because there's a new Transformers movie coming out, and I think it's called Rise of the Beasts. Yes. So I wonder if it's going to be a little bit more Beast Wars.
It is. Central. It is. I'm a little upset that they didn't get Gary Chalk to voice Optimus Primal.
Oh.
But they did get a solid choice. They got Ron Perlman. I like Ron Perlman, but Optimus Primal is always going to be Gary Chalk. And I don't know who's voicing Megatron. Well, Megatron the second, but originally it was David Kaye.
Okay.
In Beast Wars, who also voiced Arishem in the Eternals.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I think he might be the only actor to voice both Optimus and Megatron, because he voiced Optimus in one of the Transformers animated series in the 2000s.
You might be right. I don't know. I have no idea. I was just looking at the Gary Chalk. There he is. Yeah, he's still alive, so they should have asked him to do it, I suppose. But I guess they figured Ron Perlman, bigger name.
I guess. I mean, I don't understand why they do that sometimes. Like, if you got Peter Cullen back,
right. Why not use Gary Chalk? It's kind of the same with the live action Transformers. They got Peter Cullen to be Optimus, but then they didn't want Frank Welker to be Megatron. They got Hugo Weaving.
But they got Frank Welker to do other transform.
All the
like,
other, yeah.
Like, what does that? What sense does that make? Just have him voice Megatron.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, don't get me wrong. I love Hugo Weaving as Megatron, but I mean, you had Frank Welker. Why didn't you just use him for that role? It doesn't make any sense.
Frank Welker is like one of the all-time great, voice actors. He does everything.
Absolutely.
He's like,
yeah.
The
noises that come out of that man's mouth,
are insane. So yeah, he I agree. I think if you're gonna use Frank Welker, why wouldn't you have used him for Megatron? But yeah, I guess whatever.
Instead, they use him for Transformer number 4.
Right.
You mentioned Casey Kasem was in the movie.
I don't even remember Casey Kasem in this movie. I just know he's listed.
He had like one line.
Yeah,
he was line.
Yeah, I ended up watching
right before he got offed.
Right. I remember after I watched the movie, I watched the first episode of the show. And Casey Kasem's in that episode a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, I hear him here, so I don't know why I missed him in the movie. But I guess because if he only has one line and it's right before he dies, I guess that's all. I just didn't notice it.
Judd Nelson, he's Hot Rod, aka Rodimus Prime.
Judd Nelson will always be Bender from The Breakfast Club to me. So hearing him perform a couple of the lines of the movie, I was like, it's weird hearing Bender say stuff. It's just like it's weird hearing Bender be positive.
Corey Burton, he's in the movie. I forget who he plays. Shockwave. He's Spike and Shockwave.
Oh, cool.
And Brawn. I don't know who Brawn is. Shockwave is another one of my favorite Transformers because he is cold-blooded.
What is Shockwave? Remind me who Shockwave is. What does he turn into?
Shockwave is the guy that kind of has like a trapezoid head with the one yellow eye.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
You'll know him as soon as you see him,
right?
But he's another one of Megatron's lieutenants. He's like he's a scientist, so he's really smart, but he's void of all emotion.
Oh, okay.
So he will kill anybody for any reason at any time.
Just doesn't care.
Yeah, so he's super smart and ruthless.
Gotcha.
And they had to change his form for his toy because in the movie and the show he changes into a gun.
Right.
And for the toy they couldn't sell that. So they had to change him into a spaceship.
Okay. Well, yeah. Megatron on the show turns into a gun too, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So did they have to change him for his toy?
Probably.
Yeah.
I never had a OG Megatron.
I don't think I did either.
So I wouldn't know. Yeah, because most of my Transformers were from Beast Wars.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So.
Yeah, we didn't have like a ton of Transformers, but most of the ones we had just turned into cars.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I ever had Starscream or not, but and I had a couple Dinobots. But I don't think I ever had an OG Megatron either, so I don't remember if it turned into a gun or not. But back in the 80s, man, I'm actually surprised that they changed Shockwave because I used to have a plastic gun that had a silencer on it that you could screw on and off.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's funny.
They wouldn't make that today.
No, absolutely not.
I don't remember the silencer, but my brother told me about it because you screwed it on and I think one of us broke it off. So it was like you could see it. The part that was like screwed in the barrel still. And I remember asking him one time, I was like, what is this about? And he was like, oh, I used to have a silencer. I remember wow.
Yeah, I had come to think of it, I think I had more Predacons than Maximals. Those are like, the Decepticons and Autobots.
Oh, okay.
So I think I had more Predacons than Maximals when I was a kid. But I had Optimus, I had Cheetor, Rat Trap, Air Razor. I know these names are foreign to you.
Yeah, they are, but that's all right. Guess I'll have to watch some Beast Wars too.
You should. It is an excellent show. The animation, like the CGI, is dated.
Yeah.
It's very very early 90s, but at the time it was like state of the art because I think it was the first fully 3D animated
TV show.
series ever. So at the time it was unprecedented. Now it looks very crude.
Right.
But as the show goes on, it gets better. By the time they get to season 3, it to me it still holds up.
Nice.
But that first season is rough.
I'll keep that in mind.
But I mean, the show is written really well. So I think guy like you can forgive it because we both enjoy story,
right,
and character development and all those things.
And I think you and I are also pretty good at understanding when something was made.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, this movie is very 80s, and maybe some people wouldn't like the animation or wouldn't like the music, but you and I, understand it was the 80s. So, we could forgive it for its, whatever. So I could watch that show probably and understand, well, this was back in the 90s, probably looked amazing.
Yeah.
But now it's not so, so yeah, I could forgive that type of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it was really good on like the character development side. Because Cheetor was kind of like a blend of Bumblebee and Hot Rod as far as personality. He was like the kid, and he kind of he evolves over the course of the series and its sequel series, Beast Machines, which takes place on Cybertron. So he goes from being a kid in season 1 to kind of being like a young adult in season 3. And by the time they get to the sequel series, he becomes the leader of the team. While cool. While Optimus is he can't lead. I don't want to spoil it in case you watch you watch it, but he is unfit to lead at that particular point in time. So Cheetor becomes the leader of the team, and like his character development is fantastic.
Nice. Well, what do you think about Hot Rod and the whole Rodimus Prime?
And him becoming great,
the leader of the Autobots.
Great. Yeah. I think he's the only character in the movie that has any development.
Right. Sure.
Maybe Ultra Magnus. But even Megatron / Galvatron, he's still the same. He has a different
very much
voice,
the same, yeah,
different body, but he has the same personality.
Yeah.
And he's still very deceptive and trying to get over on Unicron. But right. I very much liked Hot Rod. I think he's the best character in the movie because they give him the development. The story is pretty much told from his point of view.
Right.
And by the time we get to the end and he has the matrix of leadership and he becomes Rodimus Prime, I think is very well earned.
Nice. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it works really well.
Yeah.
One last note before we could go to ratings, if you want, is I do like that, Ultra Magnus basically gets blown up, and then the Wreck-Gar, Planet of Junk.
So glad that you brought that up. I
forgot able to put them back together. So, too bad for Optimus Prime, I guess. But,
yeah, and I pointed this out to my wife. I was like, Ultra Magnus was blown to bits, and they put him back together.
Yeah,
but Optimus was too wounded for them to save him from dying. That math ain't mathing.
Right. Optimus got shot in like the torso.
Yeah.
Like twice.
Yeah.
And that killed him.
Yeah.
Ultra Magnus literally got ripped apart, blown to bits. And the Planet of Junk, the Junkians or whatever, are able to put him back together. It's like if I was Bumblebee, I'd have been like, hold on a second. I don't know what they did with Optimus's body. Yeah, but like, is there like a time limit on this?
Yes, there is. Offer expires while you wait.
That's right. Oh man. All right. Offer expires while you wait. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, that kind of bothered me. It didn't make sense. I'm like, this man is in like 8 pieces.
Right, yeah. I'm at the scene where Unicron is now transforming into a giant robot. He's very upset with Galvatron.
As he should be. Yeah, that scene is awesome. I haven't gotten there yet, but that scene is awesome. I was very excited when he finally transformed. Unicron is always one of the toys that I wanted, but never got because it was so big and expensive.
Right. I imagine. I was actually wondering if they made a Unicron toy. I mean, I imagine they would have. But it was probably like, God, it's probably huge.
I'm sure it was. Right? I don't know exactly how big it was, but I had a Optimal Optimus, which was basically Optimus Prime and Optimus Primal fused.
Oh, okay.
And that one is the biggest one that I've had, and I know for a fact Unicron is bigger than that because that Optimal Optimus is probably like about a foot big, like 12 inches, maybe 10 inches. But I know Unicron has to be like at least 14 inches tall.
Right, yeah. Well, Stu, I'd love to know what you would rate this film. I know we've talked mostly positive things about it, but I know there's probably a couple little things here and there that maybe you I don't know. We talked about Ultra Magnus and how he is able to be put back together, whereas Optimus Prime, nope, sorry. Yeah. Offer expires while you wait. That's maybe my new favorite phrase. Offer expires while you wait. But yeah, I mean, I'd love to hear what you rate this film.
Like we said before, it's of its time. It's corny, but it is awesome. I didn't like that they could put Optimus or put Ultra Magnus back together, but couldn't revive Optimus. And sometimes the music didn't match. There is a scene in towards the beginning when the Decepticons are attacking Autobot City where the music doesn't quite match what's happening. Is that
during when so one of the things I noticed with this movie is like it's very different from modern movies where like they'll start a song and then it'll fade out pretty quickly because it doesn't fit the next scene or whatever. Mm-hmm. Whereas this one, it's like I think it's the song "Dare" by Stan Bush.
Yeah,
which is a very uplifting kind of poppy song, and it starts when
Hot Rod
the kid Witwicky Daniel, is that his name?
Daniel,
he sees that there's a ship coming, and they're like, "Let's go meet the ship." And so the song plays as they're going, but then they realize it's Decepticons and there's a battle, but that song still plays.
So you got this happy upbeat song, and the Decepticons are destroying everything. It's like that doesn't quite match.
Yeah.
So,
and I think they play that song twice in the movie.
They do.
Yeah.
But other than those two things, I thought the movie was solid. It's a fun movie. I enjoy myself every time I watch it. So I'm gonna have to give this 4 matrices of leadership.
Nice. Yeah, I'm almost on the same page with you. I enjoy this movie quite a bit. I enjoyed it a lot more this time around than I did the first time around, but it still slows down a little bit for me when they're separated or they're on those different planets. Like you said about Ultra Magnus and the music sometimes doesn't quite fit, but for the most part, the music is amazing in this movie. So yeah, I think it's a solid animated film from the 80s. So I'm going to give it a 3.5 Galvatrons. I don't know. Or Witwicky mech suits or whatever they're called. Tech suits. I forget.
Exosuits.
Exosuits. Thank you. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's a fun movie. I think, when I get the 4K, I'll probably watch it again.
For sure.
Well, we'd love to know what you think about the Transformers, the movie. You can always let us know at cinemaheroes.com. You can also leave us a comment on our Instagram or tweet at us. Both handles are at cinemaheroes. You can also leave a comment on this video if you're watching on YouTube. And if you are watching it on YouTube, of course, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We'd love to hear from you any way you want to reach out to us. But I think that about wraps it up for this episode. I'm Justin Speck.
I'm Jay Stu.
As always, thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing.